welcome back to the Breaking Ice podcast. My name is Josh Ferguson. I have the lovely opportunity to sit down today with Mary Pierrot and George Grandjambe, and the only unfortunate side of the whole thing is the circumstances under which we're coming together. And everyone knows there's just a fire outside of Good Hope right now, and we have a bunch of folks here in Norman Wells who were evacuated. And the intention today is to hear about their personal experiences of leaving their home community and coming here, and how they're doing, how they're feeling. And we just thought it would be good to sit down together and talk, and then let folks listen as they may.
My name is George Grandjambe. I'm from Fort Good Hope. I'm here as an evacuee from Fort Good Hope because of the disastrous fire that is engulfing our community in Fort Good Hope. But what I'd like to say is my experience with the things that have happened there is that the community itself got kind of caught off guard, and although they did a really good job of evacuating people when the danger become more disastrous, or the situation has become more disastrous, the leadership and all the volunteers became really tentative and constructive, and started working on evacuating people. And they need to be commended, because with all the people screaming at them and yelling at them and trying to get their attention, and getting scared, and the panics and all that, they managed to work through it. I feel really good about it. But before all that started, I woke up about 9 o'clock in the morning, and the fire was just a small little, kind of like a pinpoint as to what a fire should look like. And then by dinner time, this was 9 o'clock in the morning, and by dinner time, it started to expand, and that's when the RCMP came around, and also other community volunteers or workers have come by, running around on the street, telling people to be ready to evacuate and all that kind of stuff. So we started getting ready, and everybody was kind of like caught off guard, but also really panicky too. And we're really glad that our community was able to pull together and make the evacuation successful.
Maybe do you want to tell me about your kind of beginning to the event, where you were at, and how you doing? Thank you.
My name is Mary Pierrot. I'm also an evacuee from Fort Good Hope. My experience was, we were up. I was woken up by about 9:30, 9 o'clock. A friend came over and picked me up, and then the first fire alarm went off. The fire alarm went off, so I jumped out of the truck and went running down the road to look for Floyd Cacfway, because they volunteer for the fire department, and we thought that it was a community fire. And apparently, my friend said, Tammy went and said, Mary, it's not in town. I think it's out at towards the fire pit. So we went down with a truck really fast to Rabbit Skin, and then when we got to just before the Moose Hide camp, we were met by the RCMP, and they told us to turn around because there's a fire somewhere and that they're blocking the road. So we turned around, and then we end up going back into town, and then the people said, Mary, there is no fire in town. I said, it is not in town. It's outside behind the Old Baldy, between Old Baldy and the fire pit. The gravel pit. And so the boys started going down with the truck and checking around, and then at first it was just a line straight up into the sky, a long white line, and then within about a couple of hours, it started getting bigger, and then there was black smoke, and then Tammy said, "We gotta call leadership because this is getting too serious," and we started kind of. They got a hold of some people in leadership, and those people said they're going to call other people's and text other people's, make phone calls and stuff. And we kept driving around and checking on the fire, and it started getting bigger and bigger. And by 1 o'clock, I'm not sure, after lunchtime, another alarm went off, and then they had the fire truck, and then the siren went on again, and then they had this big mic and telling people, you got to pack one bag and head to the complex. That's the muster point for the evacuation and stuff. So we packed our bags and our light bags, and we all headed to the complex.
What was the energy in town?
The energy was, some people were kind of panicking. Children were really close to their parents. The mothers had all the children close by them. The volunteers were very busy. Like George said, they were trying to get their attention and stuff, but they did the best they could. I'd like to thank all the volunteers, the people behind the scenes, people that were writing down names and checking, and some people refused to leave their homes and decided to stay, and that's where we started kind of getting worried about how we're going to deal with this. So we just left it to the professional people to, knock on doors and try to get people out and make them aware that there is a serious fire going on, and that it might be out of town, but it is serious because it's getting bigger and stuff. And then there was people panicking, and then they said the airport shut down, so we noticed that the boats were starting to go to the point, to the river, to take off to Norman Wells with their families. So some families took their, I heard that there's a youth camp, fish camp, just below Fort Good Hope.
Hosting people down there too.
Yeah, a lot of people went down that way, and then some went to Norman Wells. We'd like to thank the people of Norman Wells, who were very welcome when we got to the airport in Norman Wells. We got registered with Janelle, Pierrot, and the ladies at the airport. They were very welcoming. We had the bus waiting outside that holds about 57 people. They put us on the bus and brought us to the hall in Norman Wells, and they had cots there. They had coffee. It was okay, but the boys were still very overwhelmed, and they said they couldn't sleep, so they're gonna stay up and walk around and trying to get some fresh air and ground themselves. We had a young lady break down at the airport crying because there was other stuff happening in the community. Some incident happened, and she was all very overwhelmed. And then we bumped into another lady that was kind of worried about her quad. And people are worried about their boats, the material stuff that they have.
No kidding.
And then our families got separated. So I have a lot of family members. I'm not sure where my older sister, if they're still in Fort Good Hope or if they're in Delaney. So that kind of stuff was very overwhelming for us. And we had a lot of young people, like a lot of people panicking, but I would like to thank the MLA, the people behind the scenes, the cooks that welcomed us in Norman Wells, the town of Norman Wells. People came up and volunteered and were very nice to us and made us feel welcome. They had some nice warm blankets. It was a bit cool at night for them, they said, but they did manage to get some rest. We'd like to thank the Norman Wells for all the meals that are being prepared at the school and the community hall. They have a muster point where we have to debrief at 5 o'clock for supper and on the fire and the situation back home.
This kind of a thing is so complicated because you're getting information from all over the place, right? You have people up still in Good Hope communicating. You have people here. You have the professionals. You have the town. It's a really coordinated effort, and it came by surprise. You know.
Yeah.
George, how was kind of leaving town for you? What?
As far as the leaving town,
Thank you, Mary.
That doesn't really bother me because I'm used to living outside of Good Hope. I've lived all over the place. I lived down in the States. I lived in BC. I lived in Ontario. I lived in northern Alberta. So I'm used to not. I'm not really. It's okay for me to be not in Good Hope.
Fair enough.
I just happened to be there when the disaster happened, and it was kind of scary for me too, and also emotional, because I have lost quite a few members of my family to different types of diseases, and I felt kind of sorry, and that something like that would happen. Everybody's speculating on what caused that fire, but I think some of us are intelligent enough not to listen to speculations until that it becomes a fact, or reality.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with us in some of the smaller communities that we come from. We always tend to listen to things that are factuated, by our people. Like people say, "Oh yeah, this is how it happened," and all that kind of stuff. But they weren't there to see it, and unless you're there to see it, or you have evidence or proof that shows that whatever you say is true, then it's good, So a lot of us tend not to form an opinion, try not to form an opinion about what happened, or what the cause of it was, or anything like that. One of the things that I'm experiencing now too, and I feel kind of bad about it, that because it involves our people, and some of our people, of course, are indulging. I mean, they're old enough, to do whatever they want. They're old enough to rationalize their behavior and stuff like that. But it's like that in every community. There's always some people who will do whatever they want, whether it's offensive or non-offensive to members of their own community. But we're here from Fort Good Hope, and as much as these people are accommodating us and helping us to make our stay here as pleasurable as possible, some of our people may be behaving a little bit out of the way, and I'm really hoping that this experience will give them an opportunity that it's also okay to be respectful, and for some of us who are trying to be respectful, and I mean, there's a lot of us who like to indulge too. But for some of us who do, we realize that we have something that's going on in our hometown, and for some of us, we could lose everything, And so, I think some of us have chosen to concentrate on what is happening at home, and I wish that all those people that are behaving the way they are, I hope that they realize that. As much as we care about them, that they should try to care about what's happening at home too, because they have belongings too that are in Fort Good Hope. That if they lose it, then it's they have to work twice as hard to get all that stuff back.
Yeah, absolutely. How many How many people are still in Good Hope? Do we know?
Well, the population, as I understand from the people in Port Good Hope, we have about 1,000 people in Port Good Hope right now, and
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people, and we have different things that are happening in Port Good Hope right now. We have a big fish camp down the river, which was supposed to be a training camp to teach the youth how to harvest fish and work on fish and all that kind of stuff. And they just finished another project where they did a hide camp to teach the young people how to work on hides and to like different birds like geese, learn how to make dry meat, learn how to make geese dry meat and all that kind of stuff. And it's really good. And so the people that are organizing all these things, I mean, like they're working diligently, just like the people here. So if people are behaving improperly in the community here, they should take time to realize that the people that are working really hard to accommodate us, they're tired, they're near burnt out, and we should respect that and try to be respectful to them as well as try to help them too. And I just like to personally say that I'm really grateful that these people have made themselves available, and they need to be commended. Sometimes people from other communities can be difficult to deal with, and these people, I'm telling you, are doing a really, really, really super job, because through the thick and thin, I'm sure some of them have grown alligator skins or crocodile skins, to be able to put up with some of the mishaps and stuff like that. So
we got the call yesterday. I'm on the volunteer fire department, so our radios went off saying that there was an evacuation coming and that they needed people to come to the community hall and set up cots and kind of prepare. And it was cool. It was all hands on deck, pretty much. People showed up, and we were unloading cots and driving them over. And people, like 10 trucks are driving down the road all together. And I was impressed with the reaction, I think. And obviously, nothing's perfect, but the effort to just try and make it as comfortable as we possibly could. I was so glad to see we had a sea can full of cots. Like, no one likes sleeping on a cot, but it's better than not sleeping on a cot. Yeah. And I know that for the folks, I know a lot of the folks that were like Kayla and folks that are organizing meals and things like that. They're tired, but it's meaningful work. Mm-hmm. And we are happy to host you, and obviously, it's nice to be able to help when you can, when you have the means to help.
These people, the volunteers that are in Armin Wells, are heading back to work tomorrow. So the evacuees, some of us are going to step up and help with the meals and do some volunteer work and just kind of take over until 5 o'clock, until the Norman Wells people are back to check on us and stuff. So like again, I said, I want to thank the community of Delaney, Fort Good Hope, all the firefighters from the south, as far as Betchico, our Fort Resolution. Thank you to all the firefighters, the people behind the scenes, people that were registering, everybody that was on the plane, children that might have not been registered were registered. They double checked and made sure that the elders were out, the mothers and the children. We got those people out first. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we started focusing on the middle-aged people, and the older boys said they'll stay behind and send the younger men on the plane. So that's what the leadership did, was just follow orders. Everybody came together. They were well you could see a bit of panicking and stuff, people worrying about their, like I said, their material stuff, but there was a lot of boats going to the point. That's where they launch. So I'm sure that all these people that own heavy equipment and stuff were worried about, stuff being parked outside of their place, because there's a lot of trees around houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And the trees are not cut, so they're kind of like maybe about, they're supposed to be like about 30 feet from the house, but some of the houses have really close trees. So once the fire, if it goes through, it's just going to spread, like it's going to go fast.
Well, that's why the planes are on it. We watched the fire bosses take off, and there's about 10 of them, and they scoop up water, and I think they're drawing from one of the lakes nearby and fighting it. So all of our wishes to it going as well as it can go.
I'm pretty sure we got about maybe over 200 people out yesterday. The flight that I was on, there was 18 of us, mostly children and young men, young boys from the age of 12 to maybe 18 years old, 17 years old. Some high school students were on the plane, and the mothers were good. They were tired, but when we got here, like I said, they were very, very welcoming and made us feel as comfortable as we could. And now they're moving us to another place where we can get our own room and have access to proper showers and stuff. So we're
That's
grateful
important.
for that. And Delaney, we want to say thank you to the chief there, all your ground staff, people back home on the ground, fighting the fire, people from the air. I'd like to say thank you to the leadership for keeping their voices calm and not panicking, keeping the community calm by the tone of voice that was very professionally done. I'd like to thank a few people, the president, Edwin Aruzzi, his staff, also the volunteers at the airport and in the community. Thank you so much to the Grandjambe family, Angela, Joe, their daughter, Wanda. We'd like to say thank you to the RCMP for responding so fast to people that might have refused to leave their homes and stuff, and make the effort to bring them to the airport. So we'd like to say thank you to everybody from the air to the ground, and thank you.
George, how was your flight coming over? Who was on it? And
It was good. We were the first ones to leave Port Good Hope. The elders, they brought 19 of us out to the airport, and just when we landed, or just when we got to the airport, Twin Otter came and brought in a whole bunch of firefighters, and apparently the crew that they brought in were a crew that was taking chainsaw training. And they just nabbed them and threw them on the plane with all their gear and everything, and got them to Good Hope. And then when they were coming back to Norman Walls, they got on the phone and got the okay to take us, and they took 9 of us from
Was this
Port
North
Good
Right?
Hope back to here with that Twin Otter.
The North Right Twin Otter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think Dieter
it
was
was
flying
kind
out.
of bumpy, but it was good. We got here safely, and the pilots did a wonderful job. They brought us here safely, and we moved. We got down to the community center, and right away the young ladies that were working there were. They fed us right away, gave us some sandwiches and whatever we needed to eat and proceeded to make it comfortable for us, and that was really, really well appreciated. And
Did you manage to see the fire from the air as
yeah.
you were flying over?
And I'd like to, yeah, I took some pictures of the fire from the plane as we took off. I have it on my phone. But anyway, I'd like to commend, it must be quite an experience for some of these young people that come from as far as Nova Scotia and from Ontario and Saskatchewan and all over, to be able to do what they're doing today, like assisting and accommodating all these people, especially those young girls, and I'm sure it's something that they will never, 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 ever forget for the rest of their lives. You
Yeah.
know? It's quite an experience, not only shocking, but an experience that if they weren't here, they probably would never experience something like that. And for anyone growing up to become a young adult, to experience something like that is really, really something that's you learn to treasure for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the organizers, and they were mentioning things that you kind of don't think about. You know, it's like, okay, we need to get beds and food and whatnot, and then someone shows up with a dog, and you're like, oh my God, pets? Like, there's so many different facets to helping people out, like baby clothes and diapers and formula and so, all that kind of stuff. And I was just looking on Facebook last night, and there was so much activity of people stepping up and being like, yeah, I have extra diapers and wipes, and I'll bring them by tomorrow, and there's free clothes and so much stuff like that. And I always find it so inspiring when people come together like that.
The trip going to Norman Wells, there was a young child on the plane. The child must have been maybe anywhere from 7 to 10 years old. And for the first time, he saw the fire from the aircraft. And the expression on his face was very panicking looking, and said, there's a fire down there. And we said, yeah, that's why we're on the plane. We're going to Norman Wells. And we tried to keep him calm. And he said, it's a big fire. Like, you could tell he was panicking and kind of really concerned on his face. And I'm never gonna, almost like saying, I'm never gonna forget this, or it's something's happening that I'm gonna always remember, kind of tone of voice like. So we kept them calm, tried to distract his mind, and told him, we're going to be going to Norman Wells. The flight is going to get a little better because the mountains are around, and trying to keep him grounded, focusing and thinking about this big fire. So like George said, you know, sometimes this kind of stuff stays with you, and it's called trauma. And the youth and the people, once everything settles down, we'll have to certainly look at that for the youth. And let them talk about it, and let them talk about how important it is not to make fire on the dry land and stuff, because this is what happens. Is the land burns, and there's a big result from it. So
that's the community on the left there, eh?
Yeah, and Norman Wells did donate some women's clothing, men's clothing. They were, like they said, they were very welcoming. So we did manage to shop from their little donation store.
That's
and
good.
They gave us coffee, and George said, like he said, they already had a meal ready for us, some sandwiches. So having not to eat from 10 o'clock in the morning, going all day 24/7.
No, that's not
it
good.
was just, people were burning out. You could tell they were getting hungry, and people were getting impatient and starting to move around. And, you know, where can we eat? What we're supposed to do? Like, how long can we have to wait? And when's the next plane? And everybody was just like kind of all over the place looking for their kids and make sure their kids weren't running away.
So
And
stressful.
everybody was just very stressful, and just all talking with each other and stuff, and trying to find out who's on which bus, what plane. They had like 9 planes, and they had like lists of which plane, which flight you're on.
These are
and
the
stuff.
evacuation planes.
Yeah.
When you guys were evacuating, did you see planes fighting the fire yet?
Yeah. The water bomber was going through it. It spilled the retardant on it once or twice, and then took off. Every 45 minutes, it would be
It would come
going
back.
around, coming back. And then there was smaller planes. When we already landed, we headed back to the airport, or we stayed at the airport in Norman Wells before we caught the bus. But there was 4 or 3 planes flying over to Delaney, and two landed, and the other rest was kept going. So we called back home, and then we talked to someone there, and they said, "Oh, those planes are taking people to Delaney." We said, "Okay." So
It's one of those things where it's like, it's so hard not knowing.
Yeah, because I'm kind of worried about my family right now,
Yeah.
and my family's going through some stuff right now, and I have a nephew that's going through some stuff right now. So the grieving part for that part is kind of mixed up with the overwhelmness of the fire.
It's a whole lot of emotion at once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you don't know whether you should cry or like try to deal with these feelings. And like I said, that's why we need professional people to talk with us and see that we're okay mentally.
And just even connecting with other community members and talking and spending time together, and it's
A lot of the boys have like a lot of valuable like pictures and stuff that they cherish. And
yeah.
I talked to one mother, and she said she put her pictures in a Ziploc bag and threw it into the top of the frozen fridge so that her pictures would be safe from the fire.
That's
and
clever.
Stuff. And just really weird stories like that. And the boys were saying we hid our pictures and
just small details like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they grabbed whatever they could and then just left. Some
Yeah.
left without toothbrushes and little small stuff like that.
Those are the kind of things where it's
those-
like,
yeah.
running an evacuation center. It's
Yeah,
like, we
and
need
it's
like
expected.
200 toothbrushes.
Yeah. So we got lots of toothbrush here now, so it's good. And they're very welcoming. So
And
thank you.
there's obviously no way of knowing exactly what's going to happen, and that's what's really scary, right? But it's overwhelmingly evident that everyone's trying their hardest to make it good.
Yeah. The other thing I want to bring up that George had touched on was the volunteers at the point in Fort Good Hope are doing what they could to get people out. So the message I would like to tell the youth is please behave yourselves. Everybody's doing what they could to make us feel comfortable. We should appreciate their hard work and all the effort that our own people are doing back home to save the community. I want to say to the young people, it's Father's Day. We all appreciate our families and wish our fathers a good day. But this day is something that we need to all work through with respect to everybody from Delaney and Norman Wells that has welcomed us. So please, youth, listen to the elders, listen to the town of Norman Wells. Let's all get together and try and get through this. There'll be a lot of other times when we can do our own stuff that we like to do. So just please behave yourself and stay away from the riverbanks, and just make sure you're at the evacuation sites where you're supposed to be staying. So good luck to the people back home. To my family, I'm okay. I'm in Norman Wells. You guys have my number, so please call me and let me know you guys are okay.
George, is there anything else you want to put out to the community?
No, at this time I can't really think of anything that I want to add, except that, like Mary says, I'm really thankful and grateful that Norman Walls have step up to the plate, and I'll tell you right now, you guys from Norman Walls, you scored a home run. You're a winning team, and really appreciate that. I like to play baseball, and I'd like to score a home run too, but you guys have scored a home run that I could probably never do. So thank you very much for all your efforts and the work that you guys are doing. Masi.
Well, our wishes to everybody affected by the fires, and as good as it can go. Let's hope it goes that way. And thank you to you two for sitting with me today. I know it's emotional and difficult and scary, and it's a vulnerable thing to do. And your words are appreciated, and I think it meant a lot. The thank you to the evacuation team, because we're trying our hardest, and let's hope to God that it goes as good as it can go. All right. Well, yeah, let's call it there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Must see.